Hi Rich, let's take this video and talk about spins, specifically the double natural spin, and maybe we'll take a moment and talk about the double reverse spin. Also, just some points on spinning. So generally turns are one of the most difficult things that we do in dancing. And a lot of it is because what we do intuitively does not help our turns. We almost all intuitively pull back as we do any kind of turns. We try to throw ourselves around. And I know because I had my time in ballet doing pirouettes and always pulling back because I really didn't understand physically what pulling up meant. And pulling up and getting the spine longer, you have the actually opposite feeling of what you would think you would do. And that's seen by all of our students who go into any kind of turn and automatically do that. Pull up the front, shortening the spine in the back, shoulder weight goes behind them, and they fall. And, well, I know I practiced it over and over and over again before I finally had a teacher who really explained to me what I needed to do with my spine and my rib cage to make the turns more secure. So, and particularly for the men, you're not doing those exaggerated curves that we have as the ladies, so that presents some extra problems for the girls. You always need to feel as though you take your navel up and back, where you take the rib cage circle and you roll it forward. So what I'm trying to do is get length in my spine. And if I'm going this way, I'm losing my axis. So I'm trying to feel the opposite. There's a hollowing feeling in the low spine. There's a sense, actually, of the low spine moving up and back. Now that doesn't mean that I'm sticking my bum out, but it may feel that way. I feel the seat muscles are underneath me, but I don't feel the hips are tucked forward. It's as you lift up the navel and you move your low spine up and back, you will engage, I hope, the pelvic floor muscles to keep the seat underneath you. I want my back nice and wide. I'm going to definitely use my arms to help me around. So I find a lot of times you seem to be trying to turn by throwing the bulk of the body around. Just exaggerate that a little bit here as we move into the double natural spin of throwing your body and then throwing it back. And I'm not really using that rotary energy. Now the widest part of our bodies in ballroom dancing then would be basically elbow to elbow. So that area, that has further to go. I have to put some velocity on that, put some energy on that. It's, again, intuitive for us to try to do that on step one. So that if you do use your upper body and your arms, you clobber the girl, especially if you're doing a reverse turn. So the worst thing we can do in a double reverse spin is attack the girl by doing too much rotation through the top too early. That being said, I must use my width, I must use that rotary energy. It's going to have its strongest impact or strongest acceleration as I'm moving through the big toe of my right foot. So I could say between 1 and 2, or I could imagine that I'm throwing a ball from behind me. And I'll just do that as an exaggeration. If I take the ball behind me and throw it, I'm going to get an opening in my side here so that I'm not going to go from here and try to throw the ball. I'm going to throw the ball from back there, and there will be a natural acceleration as I come around between 1 and 2. I'll do that now if I was doing a reverse turn. I'm going to put the ball behind me and not try to throw the ball here. Throw the ball. So I always have a feeling of coming from the past and moving to the future. And I'll pass through the present. So from the back, throw the ball, and you'll feel that acceleration then between 1 and 2, or as you move through the big toe of step 1. That's another thing that frequently doesn't happen, and this is to everyone, because they turn too early, which is instinctive to do. You turn too early, one side moves back, your weight never fully goes through the foot. The weight is already on its way this way. Now, that being said, we do have some of that feeling on reverse turns. With the girl being on the right arm, we're going to desire to have a feeling of being back. That being said, again, I will still go through the foot completely. It's going to have a feeling of being later on a reverse turn, or more benign. So a lot of these sort of oppositional ideas work in dancing and they're not visible. But as you said, the more you're starting to learn, the more you're watching good professional dancers, you can begin to see how they're executing that. So yes, I need to dance through the foot fully, but I need to have a sense of staying off of the girl. But I will still throw the ball around her. We're working particularly today on your double natural. We went back to the exercise of making your wings wider, because you automatically, when your wings are wider, you seem to use them to slice through the air more easily. So whenever you're losing your balance, you're throwing the shoulders back, something's going wrong, go back to that exercise of dancing your turns with your arms wider. And then when you bring them in, try to be more aware of what you're doing. So you're going to think of turning. You must turn, you must rotate the arms, but you must do it later than what you think. So right now I'm finding you're either not doing it at all, or you're trying to do it on step one. So we're going to think of throwing the ball, moving through the foot, accelerating the arms around there. And then the other thing is I need to make sure my head weight is active. I noticed those times when you thought about where your head was, or you were aware of where your head was, it was more precise. It was not sitting in the middle. My head can sit in the middle when I'm standing here, but if I transfer my axis, that seems logical, that I would take my head weight over my foot. We don't do that. We transfer our axis, we leave our head weight here. Particularly bad on spins. We try to spin and the head weight remains off of the foot. So you were getting much more awareness of that now as you entered your double natural, of your head weight being over the foot, but not leaning into the lady. My head weight is over my right foot. My head weight is over my left foot. This is where we're getting in trouble. Right? If I move the head weight, or just don't think about it, it will fall. My hip will start to go out. I don't want that hip out there. I actually want that hip here. I want it to feel slightly back in order that my low spine can be back and my rib cage can be on the shelf. Don't look as though I'm doing this. It looks straight. But internally, you've got to get that length in the spine by feeling as though you're putting the rib cage on a shelf in front of you. So it's a very funny feeling to try to describe to someone. I feel my seat muscles engaged, but I feel that my pelvis, I would like to say, is in a neutral position. It is a neutral position, but it will feel to most people as if it's back, because the natural thing is to let it fall forward, fall sideways. So it will feel as though I've engaged everything up and back, I've engaged everything underneath me, but I want this shelf here. I do not want my pelvis in the front. While you're turning, if you don't do more, you're going to go back the other way. So when you have more requirement, right, you're adding some velocity, or you're adding some extra rotation, you have to do more of that. So I'm going to be aware of my head weight. I'll be aware of helping myself with my rotation elbow to elbow. I'll be aware of when I should do that, where my hips are stacked up, and when you're finishing. So let's go through here now. I'm not addressing the ronde today. As you get more secure, it will be more visible if you want it to be visible. It's not necessary. Right here, that's where I want to go. I'm trying to do just the opposite. As I complete my turn, I need to be aware of my head weight moving to my standing foot there and not leaning on my girl. So when I exit the double natural turn, this is what I'm finding a lot of times this year. Sitting a little bit to the left with your head weight in. Keep that hip. When I say underneath you again, I don't mean underneath you this way. It's underneath you laterally, but the booty is back a little bit. The booty is not dropped forward. Now, from here, I will not drop my head in. It's tempting. I will do my sway on the quick of the feather. So we didn't really talk about double reverse today. I'm just trying to always draw some correlations between the two. Remember, reverse turns are always less aggressive in the rotation towards a partner because of her position here. You don't want to impede on her, but you still need that rotary energy. And on the natural turn as well, in either case, you must not attack the lady by putting the turn too soon to where you take one of your axis points backwards. The axis point always needs to be advanced so that one side can move past the other side. So head weight, spine, width and rotation. I'm sure I've forgotten something that we've talked about, but those are plenty of things. Another little exercise you can do, rock your weight back and forth. But be sure to transfer the weight of the head actively and work your way around just little quarter turns, trying to feel that when you're turning, you're stacking the hip underneath you, you're keeping the head weight over the standing foot, and you don't do it this way. So you move forward and go around. You move forward and go around. You don't go backwards. Go around. Okay, if I forgot anything, I'll try to remember to include that in on the next video. What is it? What happened? Huh?